Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Amar Elm, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we're thrilled to have Mark Krajnik. Sorry if I mispronounced that. CEO and founder of Performance Mindset Associates, a company that is transforming organizations through executive coaching and talent strategies. Known as the culture coach, Mark brings over 3 decades of experience around people, talent, and culture to empower teams globally. Mark, welcome to Founders Future.
Namar, thank you so much for having me.
Excited to have you. I always like to start from the beginning. So take us back to like your origin story. What made you decide to start Performance Mindset Associates, and what problems were you looking to solve in the market?
Back in the beginning, it kind of starts with the competitive nature of sports. And that's kind of where I always start because I played football for 16 years. I played baseball and softball for 20, 25 years. And the idea is team sports developed a lot of those characteristics you use in business. So leadership and execution and preparation and all the things that make up the successful outcome of a game or an event. And so I took that into business. And back in the 90s, I started as an executive recruiter and then ran a team of 8 to 12 people. And then just matured through my career and worked with name brands like Lowe's Home Improvement, like Lowe's companies out of Mooresville, North Carolina, and AWS and Amazon for 4 years. Kelly Services, I started up with what is now Kelly Executive Manpower Group out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Korn Ferry. I had a stint with them on the executive search side. And, when I left AWS back in 23, I thought about how can I make an impact? What's my legacy going to be? And I decided that taking my 3 decades of people, talent, and culture expertise to the market to help others achieve their professional goals. So that was the foundation. And PMA, quite frankly, is positive mental attitude. And I just worked backwards from that idea
Mm,
to create Performance Mindset Associates because everything I do has a positivity layer to it. It's
yeah.
helping others achieve what they want to achieve or they say they want to achieve in their career.
What have been some, I love that, by the way, positive mental attitudes. That's super powerful. It's a great slogan. What have been some mindset paradigm shifts for you along your journey? Because I'm sure a lot of what you guys focus on is around what's going on in your head. For you, if you were to go back in time and think along your journey, what were some pivotal moments of paradigm shifts for you that really unlocked the next phase in your career?
So throughout my career, I've really honed in on human nature and human behavior as a way to get advantage or get ahead. For example, when I played tennis in a 40 and older league, I was undefeated for 12 years, not because I was the best tennis player, because I wasn't. My backhand was mediocre. But I'd play to your weakness, right? So I would see what
Mm,
you don't do well, and I'd hit the ball there every time. And then I'd
yeah.
get the points and I'd win the set. So the idea is looking at human nature and integrating neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, which is the art and science of communication. People are either primarily represented by auditory, visual, or kinesthetic approach to communication. So then you listen to cues and clues, sorry, that they give to you, and you speak their language, not yours. Body language in a meeting, someone leans in to ask a question, you pause and you lean in to answer the question. So they're virtually seeing you in a mirror, not that you look like they look, but you're acting like they act, and the body language is similar. So people like people who are like themselves. So I've implemented that way back in the late 90s. I had some good training and coaching along the way. And then I looked at, okay, how can I apply this to business to make a difference, make an impact? And so I then started thinking about I'm the acronym king as well. I create models that spell a cool word, but they really have an impact. So what I did with all of those learnings to bring into this PMA fold is I created a global talent system for mostly small, medium businesses, but any company could benefit from it. And it's 12 models within 9 modules. And
Mm,
for example, when you're in business, networking's everything. Relationship development is critical. Emotional intelligence or your EQ level is more important than your IQ in most situations in business. So I took all of these thoughts and I created different models along the way. One of which is titled Commit to Business Relationships, and the COMMIT spell out the formula to understand where you are in any relationship, business or personal or professional, but applied to a business context.
I love that. I'm a huge fan of NLP, by the way. And
Nice.
the concept of mirroring, like you were talking about, I use that a lot when I'm building rapport, especially in person, it's a lot easier. Now, when you mention the visual, auditory, kinesthetics, what are some practical ways when we're having a conversation to pick up on these cues and clues of, oh, this person is more visual or this person is more kinesthetic? What does that look like?
Yeah, and I'll give you the high level overview. So, visual is 55% of the population and
Mm,
very type A, the stereotype, quick decisions, emotional pleas don't work. They are quick thinkers. They have movies going on in their brain while they're talking to replay
mm,
the actual event or what the direction they're going to go. They're thinking about what they're going to bless you, what they're going to have for dinner on Saturday night. It's only Monday, right? They're usually 2, 3 steps ahead. They're very fast paced and they're very impatient and they're very poor listeners, by the way. Auditory are folks that like TMI, right? They want the detail. They want the color of the shirt and the time that you got there and all the details. So in emails to an auditory, you have to give all the details. It's got to be paragraphs, not bullets. Like a visual would just want a call to action and the high level bullets of what occurred. They're not going to read beyond the third line anyways. So auditories want that detail because the spoken word is powerful to them. And then
mm,
kinesthetics, they breathe deeply and they're, Amar, this feels like the right decision in my heart to make. So
mm.
they're very methodical approach to feelings based in their
Yeah.
decision making. By the way, everyone uses all three every day, but everybody has a primary representation
Mm,
system of auditory, visual, kinesthetic. It's the words they use and the pace and the tone that they have that dictate what their primary system is. But it's also eye movement. And it's a little different, right hand, left handed, it switches. But if you're right handed and you ask somebody a question, what'd you have for dinner last night? You can tell by the movement of their eye, which we're not going to get into today, but exactly how they immediately respond, which makes them primarily that, right? Auditory, visual, or kinesthetic,
yeah.
and 24% are kinesthetic, 21% auditory. So you always default to a visual audience when you're speaking to a larger group. But then on those side conversations where you get the value, you get the insight and the direction that you need, that's when you have to pay attention to the words they use. That sounds good to me, Amar.
Yeah.
That's auditory. I see what you're saying. Crystal, that's very visual. Hey, that feels like a good direction. How'd that make you feel? That's very kinesthetic, right? So you pick up that, but then you have to become a thespian. You have to morph into their primary representational system so they
Mm,
can understand your message. And so it's really, like I said, the art and science of communication because the physiological eye movement you don't control unless you know. If I practice NLP, so if you ask me a question, I just look straight at you. I wouldn't move my eyes. But if you don't know, it's really what I term as Jedi mind tricks, not in a negative way or a manipulating way, but in a way that gets you that instant rapport, that gives you that connection, that takes the relationship to the next level.
I love that so much. And I'm taking notes as you're speaking. I'm probably auditory or kinesthetic. In those two, those are probably my primary and secondary. What the thing that I love about NLP is when I was reading about it, a lot of it, obviously it's about influence, but you start with influencing yourself first, your beliefs, the lens that you view the world. What is the map that you're looking at everything through? And then from there, once you're able to influence yourself, you can influence other people.
Yeah, true.
Give us more of an understanding of PMA and who do you love to work with in your company? What's your ICP and what are the offers and services that they have at their disposal?
Yeah. So I guess I call it my avatar. My avatar is founders, executive C-suite folks that need knowledge around the human element, right? So I'm very big on retention-based culture and people first culture, which doesn't
Mm,
exist in many companies. And I came from some big companies I mentioned earlier. It didn't exist at those companies. However, the people that I align with in business are leaders, they're visionaries, they're founders of any type of a business or company. I spent a lot of time in kind of the SaaS technology world coming from AWS with PMA, but I've also worked in manufacturing and pharmaceutical and biotechnology companies as well. And I've done trainings for boards in that, the startup for a biotechnology company out in San Francisco and Toronto. But the idea of what we do and how we do it is pretty different because I use my experience. I've got a short list of about 12 different consultants that I align with based on the need of the client that
mm,
are long-term partners of mine that I've either worked with or worked for throughout my career. So I've got a network to pull from if I don't have that expertise. But what we do offer is, as I mentioned earlier, that global talent system. So if you have a either antiquated HR department or you only have a person handling HR, this system could impact you tremendously and save you a lot of time and money. And I created what's called the SMILE method. And the SMILE method is just adult learning mindset of simplify, motivate, include, learn, and engage, right? The five
mm,
principles. Keep it simple, right? That's why I developed the acronyms. Be able to motivate. You have to understand people are internally or externally motivated. You have to identify which one they are so you can play to that to drive their performance to the next level. We're not going to get into all the details on how today, but again, just understanding their motivations. Inclusion, right? Being inclusionary, having a message that resonates to multiple people, not just your way of thinking. Learning, you have to bring that continuous learning mindset to everything you
yeah,
do. So we evoke that, sorry, in a way that we include people, we do breakouts, so people are learning from each other. It's not ever me in a public speaking or keynote speech talking at you.
yeah,
It's me working with you. You're in small breakouts. You're two or three times in a half day workshop that I'd create for you. You would learn from each other as well because I believe in the mastermind principle. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, back in 1958, following Andrew Carnegie around.
yeah,
In chapter 9, page 168, is the mastermind principle, where Andrew Carnegie at the time aligned with the best engineers, the best sales, the best accounting people of that era. And the press gave him all kinds of havoc, saying, "Why would you do that? They're going to steal your company. They're going to steal your ideas." And he said, on the contrary, working together, we're all better tomorrow than we are today. So I'm
mm,
big on bringing people together and helping them achieve their goals through that smile methodology. But then I take it down, I drill down to wisdom motivation model, where wisdom stands for the six things that people are driven to in their career that they want. And by identifying their order, which won't spell wisdom when you're done, then you get the top three hot buttons to either retain or attract that person to your organization. Then you have orange carpet onboarding. My favorite colors are orange and blue. I have a daughter that's a double Gator, so go Gators. Another daughter that's State, so roll Nears. But the orange carpet onboarding process, orange is six different areas that you have to pay attention to when you bring someone into the organization to make them feel special, make them feel appreciated, make them feel valued. Then there's a whole apex factor hiring model and many more, right? There's 12 different models. We're not going to get into all of them today, but those models are in 9 modules that you can learn from and use over and over again to bring team building, to build future leaders for your organization, to build awareness around leadership, to drive my favorite, if I can take a left turn here, is real goal achievement. And
mm,
REAL stands for 4 components that SMART goals don't cover. And SMART goals were created in the early 80s and they were built around goal setting. And not, this is rhetorical, Amar, for you, but for your listeners, when's the last time you achieved a SMART goal? Tell me what it was. Tell me exactly. Tell me the specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound that it was that you set up and you achieved. I can tell you 99.9% of people will say, "What? No, I don't have, that's not, I don't know." because we don't think like that. That's just
Mm.
five quadrants and they're smart, so they're supposed to be intelligent that you want to achieve. But real goal achievement is focused on the end result, working backwards from what I want to achieve, what I'm going to achieve, and when to where you are today, to the current state. And so it's a whole process of understanding your superpowers and your values, and then tying those into really what you want to do so that not only do you remember what you said you were going to do, right? Because most goals, you know what? They're all in here. I don't say them out loud because I don't look like a failure. I don't want to look like lesser than to
Yeah,
my peers or my leaders. So I don't exercise the right to share what I really want to do just in case I fail or just in case
yeah,
it doesn't happen in the timeline that I want it to happen in. So this real goal achievement process is gold. I want to
wow,
build an app from that. Again, I'm not a coder, I'm not a developer, but I want to really build an app for that and have people be accountable to what they say they're going to do, where messages
yeah,
go out to their team or the people that are invested in their success to achievement. So those are some of the things we do. Executive coaching, definitely. The mainstay is fractional chief people officer. That's what I'm doing for a lot of these
okay,
SaaS technology startups, which is working with some tremendous companies. And that's why I was in Morocco last week for 9 days in four different cities working with them. But the idea is that if you're looking to achieve something and you have hit a wall or you've had some type of setback, I'm
mm,
probably the right person to work with because
yeah,
I can get you to that. I've been there, done that. But again, the idea of building a legacy around people first, retention based culture creation
yeah,
is going to help you retain your best people longer. Everything's temporary. We all know that, but retain your best people longer and give you the opportunity to achieve what you want to achieve in business.
yeah. I love that. You mentioned a lot there. The REAL, is that an acronym?
Yeah, it stands for remembered, exciting, accountable, and lasting. So remembered is the first thing in a goal is it's not a goal if your boss tells you it's a goal. You need to accomplish that's your duty, responsibility, or your expectation from above. So if it's a goal that you write down and I will starts every goal, I will do this, then it's your goal. And so you write it down and you have it somewhere, not filed away or not just in your head where you can review it accordingly. It could be every week, could be daily, could be monthly, whatever it is from your standpoint. But first thing is you have to have it remembered. So it's right in sight. The second is exciting. There's no passion behind the achievement of what you're starting to endeavor, the journey that you're going to take to get to the end. There's no passion, there's no excitement, then you're not going to follow through. As soon as the first obstacle or setback or barrier comes up, you're going to give up and go to the next shiny object that you're looking at, right? So you're not going to stay the course. So it's got to have passion behind what you say you're going to do. Then the accountability piece is the most important part of this journey. You have a accountability partner or an accountability team of no more than four people. So, 2 to 4 people that you provide updates to along your journey. They hold your feet to the fire, not to get blisters or hurt you, but to keep you uncomfortable enough
Mm,
to make the next step, to get to the next stage, to continue the journey. And then finally, lasting. It has to have a lasting impact on you, your family, your career, or why even start in the first place. Because the WIFM,
yeah,
what's in it for me, isn't there. So that's the real goal acronym, real goal achievement acronym. And there's a process behind that, a whole workbook behind that takes you step by step through. So you're writing your definition of success. You're writing out your mission statement on who you are and what you want to be in a future sense. Your vision for 7 different areas of your life. So it's a process. It's a workshop. It's a 2 hour workshop actually. But again, that process is very visceral to the participant because they're
yeah,
discovering really what they are and who they are and how they think, how they make decisions. And then they tie that to something that they're going to do versus just talk about or don't tell anybody so they don't look like
yeah,
they're going to fail. So, yeah, that's that process. And I can tell you, I've used it for about 6 years, 7 years now and it is very impactful. I've had people call me and say, I achieved, let's say, a President's Club in a sales type organization, President's Club in December last year. After hearing you talk about real goal achievement, it took me 4 months because I had an accountability partner. We focused. We went at work. I'm a big person about be where you are. When you're at home, be at home. Turn the phone off. Don't check your email. Put your cell phone down. But when you're at work and you're focused, get that done. Have project deadlines, get things done. And this two people that teamed up after I did a workshop with them called me late April and said, "Hey, just want to share with you, we already made the trip." Are you kidding me? Wow.
Yeah.
So they got into the details on how they did it, but it was really the core was following this process and
Yeah.
really involving yourself with every aspect of it and taking it seriously, not just, oh, another thing to do. It's something that can improve and change your life.
I love that. There's so many golden nuggets in everything you're talking about. And obviously, the majority of our listeners are founders, leaders, visionaries in some way, shape, or form. So this is super, super helpful. Let's go into a quick lightning round so we can get a kind of a deeper understanding of the back ends of PMA and how it operates. How do you personally generate leads for your business?
So really threefold. First is organically. I've got 16,323 first BFF connections on LinkedIn. I've worked in some major companies and worked with some amazing people. So those relationships that I've developed over my career have enhanced PMA's presence. So that's the
Yeah.
first is organic growth. The second is LinkedIn outreach, right? So you have Sales Navigator and even I have LinkedIn Recruiter as well, just because that's where I started was executive search mindset. But using LinkedIn as a tool to generate additional people that you don't know, but they have a similar background or they're a founder or they're an executive in a C-suite. So that's the second way. The third way is automation and using AI. And
Mm.
that's fairly new to me. I'm old school, but and I say this jokingly, but I act 28, I think 38, I look 48. I'm actually 58, but I feel 78 because those football injuries really caught up with me. But the idea is using technology, using AI to help direct your message to the right audience. And so that's newer to me over the last couple of months, but I'm starting to invest a little more time learning and using that.
How do you practically use it in your business?
For AI,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's matching companies using Gemini or Copilot. I usually use Microsoft Copilot or ChatGPT, whatever your preference is. But using that, give me the top 25 organizations that are less than $200 million dollars and started up within five
Yeah.
years or something like that. So they'll give me some data
Got
mining
it.
and give me some direction. And then I go look them up, typically on LinkedIn or on their website, and go from there. So it's working backwards from a list to then find a contact or a connection. And that takes a little more time from my end, but I think that it's more targeted to find that avatar that I'm really looking for.
And then when someone does become a lead, what's the sales process they go through to become a client?
Usually it's a discovery call for 30 minutes. It's never more than 45, but usually it's 15 to 30 minutes to understand what their needs are. And so it's just your standard needs analysis, understanding, asking good questions. When
Yeah.
you build rapport with somebody, and this is part of that commit to business relationship mindset that I mentioned earlier, there's really five questions that you ask: what they do, what they like, what they know, what they've accomplished, and who they know. Right?
Yeah.
If you get someone talking about themselves, and those are the five key areas: what they do, what they like, what they know, what they've accomplished, and who they know, then people enjoy sharing that information and connecting. And then you're interested in what they have to say. So you build that initial connection, that initial rapport. But rapport is just a perceived affinity between two or more people. So is it real or
Mm.
not? I don't know. Is this just NLP tricks again? No, the idea is you're getting insight, which is information beyond the obvious. Then most people don't take the time to get that insight.
Mm.
But in that initial discovery call, you gain insight into who they are, what they like, what they don't like, what they want. And then I customize all performance development around, let's say it's team building, communication, managing a remote team, all those different topics that are very important in today's business world. I customize it to their language, to their organization, to what they want to do. I trained for Career Builder when that was a thing back in the day, and I used their word spend instead of budget. Just a small example, but it resonated with the 90 people that were in the audience because that's what they were trained under. right? So you
Yeah.
speak their language when you're in front of them. So from that discovery call, then it goes to whatever direction we're doing a performance workshop or we're doing executive coaching weekly or biweekly or whatever it would be. We set the schedule, we talk about terms and rates, and we lock it in with a simple agreement and we go to work. And really, for me, anytime I do a performance development workshop, there's a 6 week follow up every Friday post event because the thing that always bothered me, we talked earlier about lessons learned and different paradigm shifts. The thing that bothered me, I went to a lot of training and those things, workbooks or whatever it was, or emails, they're filed away or I've never looked at them again. They collect
Yeah.
dust. So I make sure the 6 key messages of that delivery for 1 or 2 days or whatever long the workshop is then get followed up on for 6 weeks every Friday
Mm,
with one message about one component of that training. So as adults, we learn in different ways, but then you're seeing it a second time, so repetition, you're reading it, so again, another way to learn, and then you're practicing it. So there's usually an ask, a task, if you will, a homework assignment that goes with it that you report internally within the team that I just taught. So you would report to
yeah.
your manager, your leader, or whatever it is saying, here's what I did, or here's the person identified that was auditory, if we're talking about NLP. But the idea is that with the relationship with PMA and with myself, and it's Krajnik, by the way, the J silent, so sorry about that Polish silent letter in there. But the idea is that you're developing a performance mindset, you're learning new techniques and ways to accomplish things quicker, better, faster, and simplifying your internal processes so that you have more time to focus on strategy and delivery. So that's the way we think and the way
Yeah.
we act.
That's powerful. That's yeah, I'm sure you're filled with so much wisdom and insight. I just with the little things that you're sharing, like insight, information beyond the obvious, that's something where I'm like, oh, that's such a simple way of putting it. What do you feel like is, and even when I say feel, I'm like, oh, I'm speaking kinesthetic. What do you feel like is the biggest hurdle to scaling PMA right now?
With the global talent system, it's truly global. It can work. I've traveled the world. It could work in any country in any language. And the idea is how to get that in front of that audience, right? Because yeah, US, yeah, I'm in Florida, right? So US is primarily and dominant on the radar. This is where I want to grow it. But it could be any organization of any size.
Mm,
It could be a Fortune 100 company that takes these models and improves their culture. I've worked at two, AWS/Amazon and Lowe's, two Fortune 50 companies,
yeah.
and they could use every one of these models to improve their culture and their connectivity to the people, but also to simplify their internal systems. It was very difficult to get promoted within Amazon because their talent management process was very clunky and difficult. They could use the systems I put together and people would be there longer and enjoy the journey a little more. But that's just one example from my personal background. They're a great company. There's some amazing people there. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is their internal talent management system's broken and no one really
Mm,
cares to fix it. So even a company of that magnitude, they were 2 trillion during COVID, could benefit from these models, right? And the
yeah.
retention realms. I created 4 retention realms and 24 culture zones that you pay attention to. Not that you're going to invest in all 24, but you're going to pay attention to on what you need for your culture, your core values, your organization to improve and keep people longer. Your top players, your A players, you want to retain and keep them challenged,
Mm,
them interested, keep them feel valued and appreciated longer because everything's temporary, right? Jeff
yeah.
Bezos is no longer the CEO of Amazon, even though he started it up 20 plus years ago. He's Blue Origin guy and living in Florida now. But the idea is everything's temporary, no matter what role you're in. So while you're there, give it 100%, be the best version of yourself. And then when you're done, have that work-life balance. Go home, turn it off, and be the mom, the dad, the sister, the brother, whatever it is for you and be present, be where you are.
I love that. I love that. So essentially, it sounds like the biggest hurdle is just market awareness, getting the right people, the key decision makers to know who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sounding the alarms.
Yeah,
You need
sound the
this,
alarm.
everybody. You need, trust me, you need this. You don't think you need it. You don't even know about it. But when you see
Yeah,
it, you say, this is amazing. I love this. And again, it's going to make a positive impact because it simplifies everything you're doing and it brings awareness and clarity to everything that you need, right?
yeah,
To be a people first, retention focused organization, right?
yeah,
If you're driven, my book's coming out. It's called We Centric, but it's still going to be a 26th release, but it's in the process of editing and manuscripting still. But the idea is We Centric is building your culture into a community, and that's what I'm all about, and that's important. And just another thing, speaking of podcasts like Founders Future, I'm starting up Apex Factor Pep Talks. And
okay,
it's Apex Factor, and this is a lot of acronyms again, but Apex stands for attitude, the performance, because everything's performance mindset, the excellence, and the X factor, that sixth sense you have, whatever your expertise is, right? So that's the apex factor. But the pep talk is performance enhancing podcast. So it's just
yeah,
Coach K talking to you. I know that name was taken by the guy at Duke, but whatever. He's retired now. But Coach Krajnik, right? It's me talking about a specific topic, resilience, preparation, attitude for 10 or 12 minutes as a pep talk, as a coach would get you fired up or motivated to do something. And it's just a simple listen while you're walking the dog or taking a walk or jogging or something to listen to. So that's in development on Spotify as well. I've got the first episode down, but I'm gonna create shorter, just 10 to 12 minute pep talks under this Apex Factor model. And it's really going to focus on the positive mental attitude, right? The attitude piece, the performance, enhancing your performance, getting you better at what you do, and then having that level of excellence, those standards of excellence that you need to have
yeah,
to progress your career. And then finally, expanding on that expertise, that X factor that you bring that no one else has, that you're known for. Your reputation
yeah,
precedes you because you've done this so well. And so just taking that to 2 seasons of 13 episodes, so 26 episodes coming out from July through December this year. So every week you can listen to a new on Spotify. And it's just like you're saying, it's just me enjoying helping you get inspired, enabled, and motivated to perform at
yeah.
your best.
Apex Factor Pep Talk. Make sure.
Apex Factor Pep Talks, yeah, and it's
Talk.
performance enhancing podcast. Yeah.
Last question. What is your vision over the next 6 to 12 months? What are your top priorities for PMA?
So I would say two big staples, two foundational programs. The first we talked through the 12 models under the 9 modules of the global, the PMA Global Talent System
Yeah,
to market that, sell that online. It'll be in a SCORM file so you can upload into your LMS. You just pay a flat fee, you get all 9 modules uploaded, and it's all right into your LMS. So that's the first one. The second one is I have 2 daughters, amazing people, that they're really, they need to know more than they learned at App State or University of Florida. There's 8 areas, I'm not going to get into the details, but 8 things that you should know before you enter your career or if you're early in your career. So the other program that I'm putting together is Level Up to Success, and it's the
Mm,
college to career playbook. So I'm big into
mm,
sports. Now it's just fantasy football and watching sports, but I was really competitive in my athletic career. But taking the college to career playbook in these 8 chapters, plus the bonus material is the formula for unlimited success that I created out there. And it's going to be
yeah,
online because I can't just travel to universities and speak to young adults. But I really feel like the younger population, let's say 18 to 28, maybe 18 to 30, the end of the millennial and Gen Z folks, if they had these 8 skills now versus when they're 30 or 40 or 50, they'll be so much faster, so much further ahead
yeah,
than I am or than my peers were. And so that's another program that would the avatar there is young professionals
yeah,
or college students. That's the avatar. I originally created it to help juniors and seniors in college, but then I'm like, wait, there's some people that don't go to college or some people that are early in their career that need these things too. So it's just a young adult shift in mindset to help them get ahead faster. And
Yeah.
so that's the other program that I'll be putting out online by July. This is all in development today. But those are looking in the future for the second half of this year. Those are the two things that I think will resonate the most with business professionals and young entrepreneurs or young college students moving into the workforce,
Awesome.
which is really future leaders for
Yeah,
everyone. And this is global too. This is not a US based program or product.
I love that. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this conversation.
Amar, thank you for your time and having me join the Founders Future. Thank you.
What's the best place where people can reach you?
So the info at performancemindset.co, the website's the https://www.performancemindset.co as in company, not .com. So .co as the website. And then the info at, or my personal is mark at performancemindset.co. The idea is that's the place to start to get the overview of what we do and how we do it and understand and learn a little bit. But then that setting up that 30-minute discovery call to really understand the goals, needs, and challenges that you
Yeah,
have is critical. And that's where I start
yeah.
every conversation. It's all about you.
Yeah,
It's your goals, your needs, your challenges, and I'll help you achieve your goals. I'll help you satisfy your needs, and I'll also help you either get around or get through the obstacles or challenges that you face in today's market. So that's
awesome.
the best way to do it.
Awesome. So that wraps up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. Again, I want to thank you, Mark, for sharing your incredible journey and your insights with us today. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can also find more resources and insights at closers.io, where we're dedicated to helping coaches, consultants, and agencies accelerate their sales and marketing efforts through world-class systems and playbooks. Until then, keep on climbing.